Four people with four unique stories on one mission to disassemble corporate brokerage one bad suit and tie at a time. We are the Rebels of Real Estate.
Yo, what's up?
How's everybody doing today?
Welcome back.
We're back. And we're going to be serious this time.
We'll try to be serious today. I don't doubt it'll happen, but we'll give it a college try today.
We'll do better.
Well,
let's do more than just a college try.
Serious topic today. Let's do it.
Yeah. So today we're going to do mental health. We're going to talk about mental health because May is Mental Health Month. And I think this is actually a good topic for us to talk about for a couple of reasons.
It's going to be May.
Yeah. First, obviously, our mental health is important as our physical and spiritual health. Secondly, men are less likely to talk about their mental health. And considering this is a group of three dudes and me, kind of want to debunk that. But I also want to debunk the fact that as a female, I don't do a good job of talking about my own mental health.
Mental health matters.
And I think too, just like the position that the four of us are in, and being leaders in a company, I can tell you from my experience, I've never worked in a company where leaders at the top are talking about their own mental health. So let's change that.
Let's do it.
What do you guys think?
I'm with you, Lisa. I think it's super important. For all leadership teams, or just people in general, I feel like if you don't have your mental health together, everything else doesn't really matter. I think it's like the basis for everything that you do, in life, career, family, etc. So I'm all for it. Let's start it off.
Awesome.
Mental health matters.
It does. So for you guys, and I kind of just alluded to the fact that for me, like, this is not a topic that I like to discuss, but how do you feel about talking about mental health? Is it hard for you all to talk about?
You want me to go? I think for me, I think it's gotten easier over the years. I think there's less stigma related to mental health in general, which I think is a good thing. I think more people need to talk about mental health because, believe it or not, I think we all have issues, mental health issues that arise throughout our lives. And I think, it's been so kind of stigmatized over the years. People just don't want to talk about it because maybe they're uncomfortable, to discuss what's going on in their lives, their own problems. Everybody always wants to show the positives in their life and not talk about the negatives. But, to move your mental health forward and feel better in general about yourself and become more positive overall in life, you have to talk about also, the negatives. And, that's part of, at least for me, the healing process or the therapy process of, bouncing off, what I'm going through with somebody else to be relating to somebody else that might be going through the same things or have gone through the same things in the past, to get their experience, etc. So, I think, for me, it is super important. You have to be in check, if you're going to do things positive in your life, career, and family. It's very important to the homeostasis of all of that.
Wow.
Nice choice of words. Nice choice of words.
Yeah.
Nice close, Adam.
Oh, thanks.
What about you two, Corey?
For me, I don't even know where to begin, but mental health for me is, it's real. It's a real topic. And I know, a lot of people don't want to talk about it. I say for guys, we don't want to talk about it. We want to be the tough guy, the cool guy, and answer everything. And, I'm speaking for myself as I say this, in anger, something that and anger really can come out in, it's actually hurt or sad, or as a dude, I always come out and angry. I'm pissed. This person did this, but it comes down to you've been hurt. Somebody hurt your feelings. We respond that way. And that's I'm speaking for myself as I say this. So I think that it's an awesome topic. I'm not afraid to talk about my stuff anymore. There was years that I wouldn't. And I think honestly, going through with my past, going through like AA and NA, and even that kind of the recovery cycle or process, it kind of teaches you to have to look at yourself. And I think that's important. Now, am I good at it all the time? No. Like I said, I posted the other day, I'm a work in progress. I'm trying. So, yeah.
Word.
Robert?
So I'm not afraid to talk about mental health. However, I don't think I initiate the conversation enough. I think I do a bad job of recognizing mental health issues in people that I'm close to. I think we need to do a better job as a whole of that. I know I can do a better job. I think that, you know, you have friends or you have loved ones or you have people that you know that are going through some mental health things, and you disregard that. And instead of trying to dig a little deeper and see what's going on, you're just like, fuck you, you know? So I know, like, that's probably what I need to get better at, and probably just, like I said, initiating the conversation. I don't think anybody really initiates mental health. I think people are like, how are you today? And everybody's like, yeah, I'm good. And knowing damn well that you were ready to jump off a cliff 5 minutes before that and you had like the worst day ever, you're still like, no, I'm good. Like, I think we need to normalize being like, I'm terrible.
That's the canned answer.
Yeah.
You know, the
like,
easy answer.
It's great.
And then, but you know that somebody that's asking you that question, how are you? Do they really want the answer? No, it's just what you say to somebody. You know, do they really want to hear what's really going on with you?
Well, and sometimes people are afraid to put that on somebody else too, you know?
That's true.
Because then you have to kind of elaborate and, you know, give up some of that burden to that other person.
Like Adam, I think we've asked you what's going on and you're quiet.
Totally disregard it.
You're completely quiet. You're the most guarded person I think I've ever met.
Yeah, and I think,
honestly,
I mean, you know, I think a lot of that too is how you're raised in your environment, you know, in your habits. It's difficult to break those habits, in my opinion, especially if you're a guarded, you know, introvert, don't want to discuss your feelings, you know, and that can have negative consequences in your relationship. And I think it's difficult to change those. But again, you know, if you can put a plan in place and work towards doing different habits, you get better at that.
Yeah. I think sometimes the problem is too, is that, like, who's normal enough to really be the person that's the voice of reason, right?
Yeah,
like, if you have two people that are both going through some crap, you know, or you're going through something, and it's like, who's going to be the one that's stable, right? So it's like you initialize that conversation, and then you talk about your junk, and then they hit you back with more stuff that they're going through than you, and then you feel bad because you told them that you're going through stuff, even though what you're going through is trivial compared to them. Is like, you know. But
I think it makes you realize that everybody has problems. The person that you think is the best person that you've ever met or seen, or, you know, I remember looking at somebody and kind of idolizing them and thinking, oh, they have their shit together, you know, and come to find out that they were more of a wreck in their life than I've ever been.
All the time, man.
So a lot of times it's that facade that people put on, that everything is good. In reality, it's not. I think that's what I like in people, when people are like, no, things aren't great. And they're able to keep it real. But what you said was, you know, it's two people sharing their shit, you know. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, personally.
No.
So.
Yeah, I think I don't know. What about you, Lisa? Where are you at?
Yeah. So I'm going to go back to what, like, Adam was saying a minute ago, and, like, not being a burden. And so for me, like, I'm not the girl who's always like, I'm going to go to therapy. I'm the one who's always worried about being the burden to somebody. So it's a bad habit to have, right? It's not a good place to be. So I think it's important, and I've always stressed, like, with Alyssa and, like, my family, like, it's okay to go to therapy. It's okay to have somebody that's outside perspective to talk to. But I'm the one who doesn't want to be the burden, which sucks. So
maybe it's time to change that.
Yeah, but it's, you know, to add what Adam was saying, it comes from just, like, a place where I grew up, and, like, the responsibilities that were on me as a kid, right? And there was always some, you know, I live by that theory. Somebody always has it worse, which is a good thing and a bad thing, right? So, but yes, you're right. I need to come out of that horrible place.
It's hard to change lifelong habits of coping, you know, coping mechanisms. So I get where you're coming from, Lisa.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're working for you, but if they're not, the coping mechanisms aren't working, then it's time to take a look at something different.
Well, that's true. And I feel like the ones that you learn when you're little are the ones that stick with you, unfortunately, even if circumstances change.
Like you have that, when you're nervous, you just pick your nose incessantly, you know.
Do I?
Yeah,
really?
I watch it in meetings. You do it all the time.
Really? Well, that's embarrassing. You should call me out on that, man.
I'm trying to, but I figured I'd bring it here to the public.
Thank you.
Our 17 viewers will hear about it.
Appreciate it all.
Listeners and viewers.
Stop picking.
Wow.
All right.
So is there something that you guys think of when you hear mental health, like something that pops in your head the first when you hear it?
In a weird, morbid way, I always think of suicide when somebody says mental health, if I'm being honest. And I've had friends commit suicide, so it's like when you hear mental health, you think about, that's what comes to my mind at first, I think, and just not knowing what someone's going through that is close to you, right? And how important sometimes your words are to people, both ways, right? Like when you decide to snap on someone or, not give them the benefit of a doubt, or the other side, when you tell someone how much you appreciate them and appreciate what they do, sometimes that's all they needed to hear. So to me, when I think mental health, that's kind of where my head goes.
I'd have to agree with the suicide thing, unfortunately. But I think of people that I've, like you said, but people that I've lost or people that I've known that I would have had no clue that they were in a bad headspace. There's two stories. I'll give you a quick one, but younger kid, I was probably 18 at the time. He was a gay kid, and I was always nice to him, just because I'm nice to everybody, never. I knew his family treated him really badly for being gay, and I talked to him the week before he killed himself, and I was living in Maryland at the time. He was still in Pennsylvania, and he was like, "Yeah, everything's great, everything's going good." I'm like, "Good, man, I'm happy for you." And a week later, he hung himself in his doorway of his house because of not feeling comfortable in his own skin. Really, is what it came down to. So yeah, his name was Jimmy Wheeler. Remember that? Remember
yeah,
him?
I do remember Jimmy Wheeler. Yeah,
he was a local kid. So yeah, sad story.
Sad.
Yeah,
I think of a few different things, I guess, just because kind of my background is in the medical field as a nurse. So I've done clinical rotations in mental health. And you see, when we're talking about mental health here, we're talking about, kind of the simple things to improve, your overall well-being, physical fitness and stuff. But, that goes a lot deeper. There are, real diagnoses and mental health conditions out there that just simply, you can't change or fix on your own without serious interventions or, medication interventions. And I feel, it's a sad kind of, it's a sad state when you see people like that struggle all their life, and it's totally out of their control, and it's got to be frustrating to deal with that day in and day out. And a lot of times people get on these medications, and it improves them to society per se, but they don't feel themselves, or they're tired all the time, and it's not fun to take, and then they stop taking the medication, and then they're back to the cycle. So I see that end of the mental health spectrum, which is very difficult, I think, to deal with, especially for friends and family around those people to support that, because not everybody can always understand why people are acting the way they are, or the outburst and the things that they do.
And it's nothing they can control.
Correct.
So we had an agent, and I'm not going to name names, but we had an agent, and they were friends or the family, and he was fine when they were married. And I could always tell something was a little off.
I know what you're talking
something
about,
was a little off with that person, but never did I realize the wife held it together, held the whole thing together, and kind of held up the facade for years. Where I was friends with him. Sometimes I'd hear weird conspiracy theories that would come out of his mouth. I'm like, that's kind of strange, but still a nice guy. Stopped taking his meds. His wife stopped, dealing with him, and fell apart completely. I mean, I literally took this guy food the one day, bought him groceries, and he's like, "Corey, you're trying to poison me with this food. I know you are. That they're pumping gases in my house." I mean, he's out. He's
gone.
Completely gone.
Nothing.
I feel
you can do
terrible.
about it.
I think he's homeless. I think he's homeless right now.
Wow.
The family won't take him in anymore. I mean, it's a sad situation.
And a lot of that too.
And he is a good guy at heart. I mean, he really is.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Absolutely.
Yeah, I do too.
And a lot of that too leads to illicit drugs and alcohol abuse and uses, which
to escape
involves into incarceration and homelessness and everything else. So there's definitely so much, I think, that we're lacking on the mental health in general.
Well, let's look at prison period. Look at prison and jail period. I mean, 99% of the people that are in there, it's drug related, and most of it. I mean, now because the fact that there aren't any mental health, the government doesn't help with mental health anymore like they used to. So where are those people going? They're going to jail.
Yeah,
and they're not getting any help there, and they're pumping them full of drugs maybe, but that's about it. There's no actual help. So
yeah, it's crazy. Sad.
Which a conversation on the prison system could be like a whole separate conversation.
That is a whole, that's a whole separate conversation.
Yeah. It is crazy to think about, though, the trickle down. Like, if you would look at crime in general and things that happen throughout the country, how much of that could be prevented if there was better systems in place for mental health, right? Like, so how many of those things, how many crimes are committed, or how many things are happening because somebody is just trying to deal with their mental health issues and haven't had the proper channels to do so?
The easy way is to throw them away and get them out of society.
Crazy.
Yep.
I've always wondered, because you just brought that up, Adam, when you were talking about that, I've always wondered if they know, like someone with mental health issues, like, do they know that they're having those issues, and are they trapped in their own mind? Does that make sense? Like, I always think, like,
I think sometimes, yeah.
Do they know, like, oh man, I'm being crazy, but I can't control it. And like somewhere in the back, there's like
absolutely,
there's like reality that knows, like, I know I'm being extra, or I know I'm being different than I need to be, but I can't, there's nothing I can do about it. Like, do they feel trapped in their own mind? You know, it's crazy. Those are the things I think about.
I haven't worked in psych long enough to really give you a good answer, but I, have some friends that truly suffer from legitimate bipolar, and are great productive people in society when they're not having a manic episode, and can completely flip into, just an out of control individual in a manic state, to the point where they have to go to, a facility for a few weeks.
Yeah.
So it is crazy to see, how those things can impact people, no fault by their, their own, but it's a continuous struggle, and they're well aware of that too.
Yeah.
But the problem is the medications are not, don't necessarily make you feel the greatest either when they take them. So
Catch-22.
Because none of them, they're treating the symptom, not the root issue. It treats the symptoms usually is what the drug will do. So.
Yeah, and the sad thing, some of it's just trauma induced. Like, there people have gone, we don't know what people went through in their lives, and there could have been a defining moment that just changed their mental health, and they're in this downward spiral and just need some help.
But I think we can talk about a lot of things that we can do to live a healthy lifestyle to help mitigate some of that for most of us.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. 100%.
Eat your vegetables.
Yeah.
Well, and it goes to, like, I mean, there's some shame in it, right? Like, I do think when it's like a serious condition like schizophrenia, and again, we're not therapists or anything. This is just all what we've all dealt with, right, or seen in life. But like, a lot of times when you
Speak
have
for yourself,
serious
Lisa.
like that, yeah, I mean, but when you have a condition like that, a lot of times you're self-medicating because there's a stigma, right? Or there's like a fear that if you go get help, you're going to be looked at differently. So then those are, kind of the same thing. They're the ones who end up in prison and end up on drugs and homeless and things like that. But then there's also the side of it where it's like, there's an accountability piece. People might hate hearing that, but like, I think of something like ADHD, and because you guys have ADHD, so it's like when you're diagnosed with something like ADHD.
It's horrible.
But like when you get diagnosed with a condition like that, where it's, some people need medication, some need, coping mechanisms or resources to help them. So there's like an accountability component too, right? Like we have to take on to say, okay, I know I have this condition. What can I do to make my life easier, right? So
I'm speaking for myself, but I'm sure that the guy that's looking at me right now will agree to this. But with ADHD, not ADHD, we have every good intention to use those tools, and we'll use them for 13 minutes, or 3 months, or not 3 months. We'll use them for a week. We'll use them for a week, and then it's gone. And that's the biggest, most frustrating thing for me is like I want to do the right thing, and that procrastination will creep in, and I'm overwhelmed because I have 60 things to do, and I don't do any of them. That is one of the toughest things for. I'm just speaking about ADHD now, but. That's one of the biggest issues for me to overcome that hurdle. And sometimes I'll do well, sometimes I will. But one thing I can say that does help it is when I'm physically active, I feel like I can think a little bit more clearly, like running or doing something physical. After I'm done, I feel better. I feel like I can be in my own skin. When I'm not, then I'm a mess. So
Yeah, it's interesting
Does it feel
because
like?
go ahead, Lisa.
No,
you go.
I was gonna say, does it feel like you have to rein yourself in? Because I mean, I have my moments where I'm all over the place, and I feel like I need to rein myself in. Is how I
do, but sometimes I can't.
equate to it.
Yeah, then I just give up.
Yeah,
We've talked about that
Yeah.
before. Like, I'll go to my garage and I'm like, all right, my garage is a mess. I got to organize it. And then I stand there and I look at my garage and I'm like, where do I start? And then I start somewhere for a second. And I'm like, oh, this is stupid. And then I go start somewhere else for a second. This is stupid. And then I get so frustrated that I'm like, I'm just going to go do something else. And it never gets done.
Yep. Yeah.
Sometimes what I do when I feel overwhelmed, when I have a lot of tasks to do, is I try and just focus on one at a time and start taking down that wall little bit by little bit. And that kind of weight on your shoulders starts to dissipate and
There's
you
no
start
focusing.
to think clearer.
Yeah, that this
I
is
wish
what
I
I
could
see.
focus.
I see every problem and issue. There's no chipping away. It's like it's too much.
But
for
he's
me to
right.
use. But
I mean, that is
right.
How you
Call
have
it
to
Eat
tackle
That
it.
Frog, right? It's Eat That Frog.
Yeah.
That's a good book if nobody's read it. Read Eat That Frog. It's a super short read, but it's literally about when you wake up in the morning, you take the hardest task that you have for the day and you eat that frog. And you do that immediately, and then everything else kind of falls into place theoretically, right? Not for me, but that's what it's supposed to be. That one and Gary Keller's The One Thing. Those are two things that really change my thought process. I can't practice it every day. I wish I could, but my ADD does not allow to do. I'm using that as an excuse, but it really is truly a struggle. I was gonna say, so a buddy of mine that I ride with, he has ADHD, and he actually uses OCD to solve his ADD, right? Or ADHD. Yeah. So what he does, like, for example, he's a mechanic. He works on bikes. So he was like, I found myself being so ADHD, like so crazy all over the place that all my tools were all over the place. I never knew what I was doing. I'm always looking for stuff. Then I'm frustrated because I can't find it and I can't remember, which I can relate to, and I'm sure Corey can too. So what he did was like go over the top, and he organizes his toolbox like Adam would, right? Like, I mean, so meticulously, like OCD. And every time he uses something, he puts it back immediately. And he said, I just created that habit. Like, it was really hard to do. He was like, but just that alone, like getting into that habit, he's like, it solved my at least ADHD in that aspect of my life.
You made me think of something, and do you ever feel like you have a task you have to do and you just don't want to do it because you have to do it? I mean, it can be anything for me.
Yeah.
Like, I know I have to do
all
this,
the time.
but I don't want to do it just because I know that I have to get it done.
Yeah.
And then I'll leave it for the very last second.
But you know what? After I do it, I feel better.
No,
Like,
you're
I
right.
feel a sense of
Yeah.
accomplishment, and I feel like then I can, in my free time or leisure time, focus on that only because I've, done what I had to do.
Corey and I talked about that a little while ago. We were like, it's that I feel like I got to do this, and it's going to be like 3 hours. It's going to take 4 hours to do it. And then I'm like forced to do it, and I suck it up, and it takes me 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, why did I wait this long to do something that was that simple to do that I just psyched myself out of? It's weird.
I just read somewhere this guy was talking about he's an ADHD coach, and he said if you can knock it out in a minute, you do it right away. So it only takes a minute, knock it out. So if you do that throughout the day, all those little things that you don't want to do that really aren't going to take that much time. So I've been trying to use that. I don't want to use the excuse that I can't do it because I can, But
I've been trying to do stuff immediately, and I tell that to people all the time because I'll be like, I'm not being rude, because like we'll be talking and they'll be like, and we'll talk and like, oh, you need to reach out to so and so, and I'm like, hey, I'm not trying to be rude. I need to do it right now, or I'm not going to do it. Mm-hmm. So then I'll do it. And that I know if I can get into that habit, it's good. But like it's short lived. It's bursts. Mm-hmm. It's like I'm in the habit and I'm doing it today, and then the next day I'm not going to do it, and then 3 days later I'm going to be like, I got to do that, and I do it, and then the next day I'm like, not doing it again.
Yeah,
Ugh.
I get it.
Do you think it relates to like control? And I only think about it because I know Adam and I talked about this one time, because for me, like cleaning, like, and Adam's a cleaner too, but like if I feel like I don't have control over something, I will clean like crazy.
I don't care
because
about
it's
having
like
control
I have
over
control. So like, I don't know. Sometimes people feel like it's a loss of control. That's why I was asking. So
What do you mean by loss of? I understand what you're
like
saying.
you either like don't have the control or you don't want to be controlled. So you like.
Well, some of it is that for some of it's that for me for sure. I don't want to be controlled, and sometimes if it's somebody that I don't want to be asking me to do something, I don't want to do it just for that reason, just because I don't care for that person or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I could see that as a aspect for sure.
Yeah.
That's why you use Gmail all the time, because you don't like me.
Well, we could bring up Gmail. No, to be honest, I'm a creature of habit. Once I've done something, and it
doesn't even say Iron
works.
Valley though.
I know people know who I am, and if it's at the point that this is the way I look at it. If it's the point that we're doing a Zoom, I mean, they're already in, so it's whatever. I don't know. I don't know why that bothers you so much. To me, I'm like, why does that bother Lisa so much?
It bothers me. It's kind of unprofessional. Not that you're unprofessional, but I know, like, for me, like, when I get bombarded with emails, like, if I see an email come through from a Gmail, I'm like, eh. If I see an email come through with somebody's URL, then I'm like, all right, it might be for real.
But it's a Zoom link. We've already had a conversation. You know,
Yeah.
it's not like it's.
But even initial emails
outside
out to
person.
people, they'd be like, does he like?
I don't email anybody outside of that. I just schedule my Zooms through that. I use my other one. I do.
You?
Yeah.
Oh.
I go back and
I
forth.
believe you. I believe you.
I'm dead serious. Like I use the Gmail to schedule.
Yeah.
Because that's how I've done it from the beginning.
Just from your phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
He doesn't like to be controlled.
And maybe that. I don't know.
Not using franchise.
So obviously, I think we've all taken some time to learn about our own mental health. Do you have like stories or things that you've done to learn more about yourself and managing your mental health?
I think for me, just going through nursing school, and learning about that aspect of it, in the clinical rotations and seeing mental health in real life, has put a lot of perspective into just, what people in general suffer from. And, in my own experience, also, what my weaknesses are, to reflect on that. I don't know. What about you, Corey? You looking over?
What about
looking
you,
at me
Corey?
weird over here?
I don't know what was going on there, man. I was like, what are you doing?
Oh, I am looking at my phone.
You made me feel a little uncomfortable.
Sorry,
I don't know
man.
what that was.
He's studying the questions before Lisa asks them.
I know. I wasn't even.
Okay.
You freaked me out. What's the question?
I can go quick while he figures it out. For me, I've realized that my inability to disconnect is bad for my mental health. So I think it's finding things that are outlets to allow yourself to free your mind, so to speak. Like for me, because of my ADHD, I cannot disconnect. I have to be constantly connected to something and doing something. Even when I'm doing something, I have to do two other things while I'm doing it. And it creates a situation where people I care about feel like I don't care about them because I'm not paying attention to them like I should. And B, it does not allow me to relax. And I just had this conversation with Ashley the other day. She's like, you need to learn to relax. And I said, that's cool. I'm 44 years old. And I said, I can't. So for me, what I recognize is, believe it or not, my motorcycle is what keeps my mental health sane. If it wasn't for me riding, I would not be okay. Right? Like when I'm on my bike, I can't answer my phone. I can't scroll on Facebook. I can't scroll on Instagram. I can't text anyone. It's just me in the road, and it forces me to disconnect. And I can tell days when I ride that I'm a better person at the end of the day because I had that release and I disconnected. It's just about disconnecting. So that to me is what I've recognized. And so now, like I rode today to work, like I'm going to all my meetings today on the bike because otherwise I'd be in the car. And as soon as we leave all this, I'm taking 15 phone calls and text messages. I'm looking at my email as I'm driving. I'm Facebooking as I'm driving. I'm posting for LLS. I'm doing a reel. I'm doing whatever I'm doing while I'm driving, right? Not disconnecting. But if I'm on that bike, I don't touch my phone. I just listen to music. It's me on the road and I disconnect.
And when you take that time to disconnect, you get a sense of renewed mental freshness to come back to where you were at, with your job or whatever, and you perform at a better level.
Yeah.
At least for me.
For sure.
I need to disconnect from everything. I have to. And I'm able now to do that. Like I can do that and I don't want to talk to anybody. And I think it's from talking to people all day long. Like I don't want to, you get to a point where you just don't want to communicate. And I need to do that. Or if I don't, I'm not going to be any good to communicate with anybody because I've over communicated for, but it's tough though with the family though, because I'll come home or whatever. And I don't want to talk to anybody because I literally have talked to people all day long. and then or my wife will come home and tell me about her day, and I don't want to not listen, but I don't want to listen because
But you're not there.
But I'm not there because I just want to shut down. And so for me, for the mental health question that you posed, what was it? It was I think for me is learning a lot of my stuff. In fact, 90% of my stuff comes from my past. And I think that's for anybody. Well, I mean, anybody I'll speak for myself. So my stuff that happened as a kid followed me through life, right? And never really dealing with it or coming up with positive coping mechanisms or whatever. You know, I think I finally at this point in my life have dealt with a lot of it, but I mean, there's still definitely stuff there that I'm working through with, you know, father stuff, mom issues, whatever. And I think it's just realizing that it's okay for me, it's okay to go to therapy. It's okay to talk to somebody about it. It doesn't make you less of a man to be upset or whatever. You know, in my 40s, that's changed a lot for me. But being able to recognize those issues and trying to get better, you know, at least trying to work through that stuff. And most of it is all hurt from, you know, and you know, as I speak about being in jail or sitting across the table from all these guys, you know, that are, as an older guy that was across the table from me, and I may have told this story before when I was in the Lebanon County Jail when I was using drugs. And I'm looking across the table at this guy, and he's 50 years old, and he's like, I'm going to change this time. And I was like, damn. I was like, we're all in here because we're all misfits, and we all had shitty childhoods, and we all had issues that we never got to deal with. So now we're adult children because we never dealt with those issues. And that guy is me, unless I change now. So I was 25, and something clicked for me at that moment. But that's a work in progress, man. I mean, I'm 46, and I'm still working through that stuff. So I think as long as we're moving in the right direction and trying, there's no shame in it. So if you need therapy, go get it because it's helpful.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a process if you think about it too. And I as you get older, and this might be more of the scientific side of things, but I know you think of an abusive relationship. If you're in an abusive relationship and you go outside of that relationship, you don't maybe recognize how bad it was until you leave, right? Or any relationship, you know, like, oh, but I think for me, it's just, I've always tried to recognize, like, as I've gotten older, you start recognizing things that you didn't recognize before, and you're like, oh, well, that may explain this, you know, it could have been, you know, 30 years later, but I guess as you mature mentally, right, and emotionally, you have to look at it that way.
But it really all comes down to that person's perception. You know, at the end of the day, if they think it's worth, if it bothers them, even you can be outside and see it in other people. I mean, I can see it in everybody else around me. I don't see it in myself, and I'm sure everybody sees it in me, but I don't see. You know what I'm saying? So it really comes down to that perception or perspective too. So
yeah. What's the next one, Lisa?
So, what are your triggers? What are the things that trigger you and impact your health, mental health? I'll go first. You know what triggers me? It's a hot topic. Religion triggers me, so I steer away from it. Like, that messes with my mental health, and it's because of, and I'm sure a lot of people don't want to hear this, but just because growing up and seeing the hypocrisy in a church situation. So I have a hard time with religion. It's a trigger for me for sure, and my mental health. So I stay away. I choose spirituality over religion. So.
My trigger is conflict because I steer towards conflict. So I think that I try to avoid it. It's in a weird way. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, people that want to argue or whatever, I'd much rather sometimes I try to learn to shut down, which probably isn't the answer either. But I know that, like, I have a breaking point so that if I continue to go down that direction, I'm going to go down a dark hole. Just because that is me. Like, I think I grew up in an environment where violence was the answer. And I still have that in me sometimes, like, where if I'm in a conflict, the only resolution for me at the end of that is that I'm going to snap. And so that instead of dealing with that, I shut down and I'm like, there's no conflict. I don't want to deal with it. I'm just done. So, like, I don't think I handle that correctly, but I also recognize the trigger. Like, and it's not like normal conflict. I don't mean like a normal like debate or something, like, you know, like I mean more like in a relationship status or something like that, or like, you know, somebody really pushing you like on purpose. Like, you know how people push to try to get you to react? Like that's a trigger for me. And where I used to be really reactive, like as soon, and I didn't catch that somebody was trying to bait me into that, I'd be reactive, and it was always a really bad reaction. And to where now I'm like, oh, you're trying to bait me into that. I see what you're doing. I just need to stop. So I recognize it as a trigger, and I kind of shut down right away. That might not be the best way to do it. I'd probably be better off if I was like, if I learned to be calm and just talk my way through it. But I just found that it's just better to be like, all right, I'm done. I'm just going to shut up now. Bye.
I always find like stuff like that fascinates me because it's both sides then, because that person's almost manipulating you in a sense, right? So,
well, people recognize that, people see that, and then they'll push.
But then, but it's also that person obviously has a trigger that they want to manipulate you.
Kids do that, right? That's like remember when we were all kids, right? And my mom used to always teach me, and tell me, and I never really listened to her, but like kids would mess with you if you reacted. Remember that? Like bullies only bully people that react, right? Well, I could fight when I was a kid. I fought. So like it was like, oh, you're going to pick on me, but they're messing with me because they know they're going to get a reaction out of me, right? And I wish I would have learned just to shut up and not like, oh, you're stupid, keep it moving, you know? But people only mess with people that they can see they can get a reaction out of you. So I think it's trying to be that person that's not reactive, not being so reactive. And people will bait you into that in all aspects of life, like business too. They're going to try to get you to react so they can make you look like the bad person, right? I think bad people do that to people. They're like, let me get you past that point so that you look like an asshole, so that I'm not the asshole anymore, and then you look like the idiot. Like they bait you into that. So I'm trying to get better about not being that person, being so reactive.
You want me to go?
I'm still reactive at times. I think my biggest trigger is if I feel current trigger, if I feel that someone is either trying to take advantage of me is one way, or trying to belittle me, even if they're not. I sometimes fall into that, and then I snap, and I sound like sometimes I sound like a complete asshole. So,
angry black man, Corey.
Yeah, I can get that, and I don't like to be that guy at all. I hate that. In fact, that's the thing I hate the most about myself. But you've been
doing a lot better though, man.
Yeah, I also came from a place similar to you that you have to get to that point. You have to go there because that's where I had to go.
I would say probably the last year and a half you've been like, you used to be really bad about that. Like even with just agents in general, like, but I don't feel like you
recognize it though. And like,
I don't feel like you do that anymore.
I recognize it. I'm trying. I'm trying. I'm not. I mean, nobody's perfect, but
no, we all have our moments.
I think also like family stuff can trigger me. I'm talking about past. I mean, I have issues with my whole family. I mean, we've always had issues, so I think that can put me in a bad headspace. You know, for a lot of reasons, like Mother's Day. I mean, that should be a day that you're, you know, and that bothered me. So there's issues like that those are definitely triggers for me. But you know, I'm trying to work through it, and that's all we can do is try to be the better version than we were last year. Try to keep getting better. So
yeah, recognize those are the first step though. Yep. Got to recognize what's
triggers are. You better recognize.
I think for me,
this is way too serious today. I'm sorry, guys.
So serious.
I feel like I'm.
It's polar opposite of last one.
Polar opposite of last time.
Let's do it.
I think for me, it's glitter. Honestly, it's glitter. It's glitter.
I hate glitter. I do hate glitter.
Because you're OCD. That's why.
Glitter is my absolute favorite. Absolute hate. I hate that more than anything. More than anything.
Because you're always running around the house chasing the kids, cleaning up the glitter.
I think we have a glitter policy at my house where any of the dresses that come in, I have 2 girls, a 9 and a 4-year-old, so it's always Elsa and Anna and Snow White dresses. They have to be glitter proof, or they have to be the type of dress where you can't rub it and then you get glitter all over but you can't get the stuff out.
It gets in your eyes too.
It's all over the place.
It does. It gets in your eyes. Or you'll have a couple on your pieces on your face.
Oh, you definitely get it on your face. It sticks to your cheeks and then you're screwed.
I have a story about glitter. When I met my wife,
so do I.
10 years ago, we were dating,
glitter and
your
wife.
You know, I had this really cool car, you know, like I was into cars, had this nice car, and it was I don't know, the second date or something like that.
It was a 77 Pinto.
Yeah, a Chevelle. You know, and I think
Volkswagen GTI.
she had glitter on or something, but when she got out of the car, it was all over the car, and I don't know, I spent probably a good 2 hours cleaning it out, getting the glitter out of the seats. Yeah, it was very stressful, bothersome.
So my hate for glitter comes from raves.
Oh, yeah.
Because all the girls would have glitter all over them, and sometimes people would come up and like throw glitter in the air, and it would be in your. That's what I was talking about, getting it in your eyes. I hate glitter.
Fun. Yeah.
Hate glitter.
It's funny because you said that. So some guys I ride with, St. Patty's Day, their big thing is the one guy we ride with, he has green glitter with him everywhere, right? And so, you know, a lot of people use St. Patty's Day to be promiscuous and be the opposite of what you normally are, because you can do that in public and it's normal. So, right. So all the girls any girl that has their boobs out that are partying, right. He throws glitter on them. Right. And they eat it up. They think it's the best thing ever. Well, this year, the guy that was with him, his job was to go motorboat everyone. So listen, so it's going somewhere, right? So he would motorboat all of them, and then he had glitter all over his face, right? So this guy was still in his prospecting phase, right? So his name is Cupcake, because the girls that like would run into him at the bar when he had all this glitter on his face, like, oh, Cupcake, you look like a cupcake. So now he's a cupcake because of the green glitter. So
that's where we're going with the glitter.
Yeah, we'll lighten it up a little bit.
That lightened it up.
Good job, Adam. That was all.
How do you guys go to strip
Bring us
club
back, Lisa.
if
Bring
that's
it back.
the case?
What's
How
that?
do you go to a strip club if you hate glitter?
I don't.
Get it.
I'm not into them. Not my thing.
No, I'm church going. So
Okay.
Oh man.
So Rob mentioned this, like he rides his motorcycle to like, you know, keep his mental health in check. What other things does everyone do to keep their
I
mental
like
health
to
in
fly
check?
airplanes.
Yeah.
Here we go again with the fucking
Every
airplane.
podcast, I have to bring it
about
up.
the airplane. Yes, Adam, we know you own an airplane.
We
and
know.
You're a pilot, sir.
I just like to talk about flying.
Just kidding. No,
I think
it's your passion.
all pilots do.
I probably talk about my riding my motorcycle almost
But it's the same. It's the same thing
Yeah.
that you say.
It's the same
That
thing.
you basically have to focus on what you're doing at the time, so you're not thinking about a million different things. You're not being interrupted, and it just gives you that ability to just kind of escape for a little while.
Yeah.
I like running long distances where everything hurts. You go through all kinds of mental shit to get to the other side of it. You'd go through all of your issues, whatever's going on. And like I've been running in the woods. I love it. I love being out there. When my dog's with me, we just go. And I feel like nothing matters when you're out there. You know what I mean? And it's you. All you hear is your footsteps or your music, whatever you're listening to. You're breathing. And you focus on only those. And I think it's almost like you're controlling you can control that little environment. And then when I come home, I'm good. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to be back in the flow of whatever's happening at home.
That's Lisa's probably too. Is that yours too, Lisa?
Yeah, 100%. Like pounding the pavement. I used to laugh, and it's not funny, but angry running. Like if I was angry, I'd be like, I'm going to go for a run, which is dangerous, and it will lead to what we'll talk about in a minute. But like then I'd go out and run. Well, yeah, you go out and like I'm angry running, so I'm running faster than I should be, and like by the time I'm done, I'm like, what the hell was I doing? Like that was stupid, you know? Like you're throwing up or whatever because you're sore or whatever. So. But yeah, I definitely running, yoga. I do a lot of yoga, and then I'm also a big water person. So like if I am really stressed out, the first thing I want to do is get to like a body of water, be on an ocean, you know, be on a lake, whatever. I don't know. It's just soothing to me to be near water. That's probably why I like running up at Sotero State Park, Corey, is just because I can run along the river the whole time.
That's my favorite place. I wish I lived closer because it takes me 30 minutes to get there now. It's not conducive to, but that was my favorite place to go. You know, there's deer running across the path in front of you. You know, rattlesnakes almost biting you in the ankles. It's great. Love it.
What's the next one, Lisa? Let's keep it moving. We're gonna have a 2-hour podcast.
So, to what I just said though, like, are some of your coping mechanisms unhealthy, or have you caught yourself where, you know, it's the same thing, like our greatest strengths can be our greatest weaknesses. So I'm sure some of us also have coping mechanisms that can screw us in the long run if we're not careful.
Shutting down for me. Like how I
Yeah.
said, like, if I don't want to get like to that point, I'll just shut down. But then I feel like you're not really dealing with the issue. And then on the other side of things, like if you're the person on the other side of things, I think that can be misconstrued as not caring because you're not willing to discuss what was going on, but you just know for your own mental health that at that moment you just have to shut down. So I think that it can be negative too, right? It can, because if you're not dealing with it at the time, like it could be misconstrued as not caring. But I think for my own mental health, sometimes I just need to shut down. So I think there's got to be like a balance there.
I think I just eat a lot of ice cream and donuts and cheesecake.
Oh yeah, food does that. Yeah, food. But you don't look like that. That's I hate.
No,
the
because
difference
then
between you and I is that
Because then he doesn't eat for 3
Because then I
weeks
don't
afterwards.
eat, you know, and then I try and go to the gym in the mornings. So,
Yeah.
but
You're
I mean,
also
if I
younger
don't,
than me.
I don't know about you guys, but if I'm not in the gym working out physically, you know, I don't feel good at all, mentally or physically. I
that
don't have the
habit.
energy.
Terrible habit I don't
Lifting
have.
for me is also has been a good outlet, but I will also can sabotage even with drinking occasionally. Like I will drink too much. You know, there's times that I'll drink too much, or there's times that I'll overeat. I mean, that's a thing too.
Eating's a bad. I didn't even think about that, but you know what?
Food is my.
I'm a
biggest
stress
crutch.
eater. I'm a really bad stress eater. Like as soon as I get stressed out, I want to run to the pantry, or I want food, and I want
I
something
can
that's
just
not
picture
good.
Rob running
That's
through
what-
his
that's
kitchen
what I,
to
that's
the
what I do
pantry.
too.
No, I'll get called out on it because, like, if I'm busy that day and I'm dealing with a lot of phone calls, I always have my AirPods in and I'm walking around the house. The first thing I do is when I'm in a conversation that gets old, I get right to the kitchen, and as I'm talking, I'm eating, and you don't realize it. And then if you're on like 5 phone calls throughout the day, that's 5 times I ran to the pantry and ate.
I figured out calorie wise, like how much extra shit I was eating when I started doing intermittent fasting and whatever. Dude, it's a lot. I mean, 500 to 1,000 calories of other stuff that, you know, like yesterday I didn't eat until, was it 11:30? And what did I eat? Whatever. It doesn't matter what I ate. But I was in the cabinet. I was on a Zoom, went in the cabinet, grabbed 2 cookies. You know, I was like, I'm just going to eat 2. It's 170 calories. I'm back in there again, grabbed 2 more cookies. By the time I was like 6, I ate 6 of those cookies. I mean, that's a
Like
whole lot of
about
extra
500
calories.
calories,
Extra
yeah.
500-600 calories.
You don't even think about that. Wow.
But I burnt
Crazy.
like 16,000 steps.
To justify it.
That's how that's what I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, but I did all this stuff. So
I ran.
whatever.
So Rob talks about shutting down. I bottle it up, which I think is even worse sometimes. Like, I think there's times where it's good because a patience thing, like I have lots of patience, but if I bottle it up for too long,
Then
you don't
you
want to be on the other
explode.
side of that. You don't want to be on the other side of that. And it's like,
I've seen
it's
it.
the wor-
I've
it's
seen
the
it firsthand.
worst thing.
Seen it firsthand.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't either. I'm pretending. I just made that up. Never had any issues.
So
What's
for
next?
sure.
What's
What
next?
about stress? I mean, we mentioned stress a little bit, but I honestly think stress is such a big part of mental health, and the world is just, I feel like stress has just become consuming people anymore. So how do you manage your stress? What creates stress in your life? You know, do you bring it on yourself?
I bring it on myself for sure. The news will add stress to my life. That's why I don't ever, and this is maybe bad, but I don't ever watch the news, ever. I have no clue what's going on in the world, which I know for some people would be like, well, why would you not want to know what's happening? It's all bullshit. It's all, for me, all it does is divide, makes us hate each other, makes us worry about what's coming. I'd rather live right now in the moment and try to be positive as I can be, and try to do the things that I know that I need to do right now. And when I allow that stuff in my head, then I'm on that, you know what I mean? You're allowing all that negativity. So I try to stay away from that. But stress for me is, it makes me eat. It makes me freak out. It makes, whatever. So yeah. But that's how I deal with it. But not watching the news is the biggest one.
Yeah, I think we've been talking about stress the whole time, kind of like, because that's hand in
all
hand
the
with
same.
mental health, right? Stress. So, yeah, whatever.
I just think,
I think Rob's stressed right now.
I'm stressed.
yeah, I don't know. To me, it's just there's so much stress in our lives anymore. Like you think back, well, I can't think back that long ago because I'm not that old, but I'm sure everyone had different stressors when they were, at different periods in time. So, worrying about putting food on your table is a stress for people,
Yeah.
even today, it may look different today than it did 50 or 60 or 70 years ago, but just never know what everyone's going through.
I think social media has added a ton of stress to people's lives,
For sure.
I can just say for my kids, like watching everybody feels like they have to be that, look like that. And I try to tell them none of that is real. It's all fake. It's all staged for that moment. So the reality of it is none of it, but it's hard when you're a kid, and that's what you're seeing and you're being forced to, conform to what everybody's doing.
I couldn't imagine being a kid now.
That would suck.
With the social media
Talk
stuff.
about that all the time.
I
It's
mean,
tough
when we
to be a
went
kid.
through high school and, middle school.
It was tough enough for us.
It was tough enough, but it was confined to at school, or, like in your small sphere of friends. But can you imagine like the social media part of it being out there to everybody in the world?
You're constantly connected.
Both of my kids are really good about it.
Yeah.
They don't do anything. Like they don't post. They're not like focused on that. They don't care, which is kind of cool. I mean, they look at social media, which
sure it has
creates those kind of issues, right? But they're good about not really caring about their persona on social media, I guess. My son was into this weird little thing for a while that he was trying to be famous on TikTok. So he was doing Dad, you have to do it at a certain time, and then you're going to get on everybody's timeline if you do it on TikTok, and you have to do this. And he was trying to do it all the time, and then he was doing this weird thing where he was trying to suck in his cheeks to make his jawline look a little better and trying to get all the ladies to like his TikTok.
What's it? Because Keone was doing the same thing.
Yeah,
what the heck is it?
Why?
Yeah, anyway.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was it, though. But you're right. Social media screws everything up, even for us, even for adults.
Giga Chad.
Yeah.
He was calling it the Giga Chad face. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Even for us, like the pressure to one up people. Like, how many people do you see on social media pretending their lives are incredible, right? Like, I can name one, but I'm not going to say it. But there's a guy that we both know that he literally has to every day prove that he's better than everyone else. Like, that's his whole goal in life. Like, and I just think, like, what is that like to live with? That you have to think every day you have to go on social media and make a new post about how great you are, right? Like, why would you do that? Like, I thank God I'm not stuck in that. But, and, there's a lot of people that have to sit back and see that. And they're like, why don't I have this? And why don't I have that? And why didn't I do this? And I'm not accomplished and I'm not successful. And I mean, I'm guilty of that sometimes, but
I think my idea of success, well, you just brought up success, but my idea of success now is different than it was even when we started. Like, for me, originally it was, I wanted to make all the money and now and get the stuff. And then you get the stuff and you realize that none of that matters. And then you get to a point where I think family and friends and having family and friends and people around you is way more important, I don't know, than any of the other stuff. I'm sorry I'm going off on a tangent right now, but yeah, sorry.
Balance,
I'll
man.
shut up.
It's the small things in life. Like when you're younger, you have these ideas of what's going to make you happy, but the older you get, you realize it's always been around you all this time. The simple things, walking outside, looking at the sky, feeling the breeze.
For me, it's Mother's Day when my whole family was together. That was cool, man. Like everybody's
like
getting along.
that you take for granted that you've always done. Like those are the little
stuff that matters in life
of happiness throughout your day.
Probably why Europeans live so much longer than Americans, right? Is because they focus on family, food, life, and we're out here chasing the American dream. Stupid.
Is it really a dream?
Oops,
is it really a dream? Yeah.
I used to read.
I think if you find something that you're excited and passionate about, to me, like, I love being a part of this company and like being, part of the growth of it. So I enjoy working hard for it. Like it's a purpose.
The growth is more.
That
I like more than anything at this point.
But there's still stress involved with
There's
that.
always stress, but it's how we manage it. And like, I wanted to say, for me, the way I manage my stress is I have to get up in the morning and I have to go to the gym and work out. That's the first thing that I do. And then I'm over at the diner, like to chill out, like I look forward to that.
And you have your one egg.
Yeah, like my dry oatmeal, my plain oatmeal, like with raisins in it for flavor, no sugar. And then I'm ready to go. Then it,
but then there's AM radio on the way to the office after that.
I've gotten off of that for a little while. Yeah.
What are you listening to now?
I'm all over the place. CNBC, I'll listen to Fox, I'll listen to CNN. Talk radio.
Still making you angry. It still makes you angry.
Wow.
To me, it's entertainment. Honestly, it doesn't really. But again, then I'll listen to music, all types of music. The only one that I can't really do is country, but
I have to agree with you on that one.
Yeah, that one's a little tough.
Except there's some good.
Some
good.
I like Chris Stapleton.
Actually, I do like him.
It's my guy.
I do like him. You know, I love. This is going to sound weird coming from my mouth, but I hate country music, but I like bluegrass. How does that make any sense? Because that's way more twangy. But I went to one bluegrass festival in Maryland, and it was one of the coolest things I went to. It was just cool. Everybody was like running around barefoot, and it was just a neat experience. Anyway, I would never thought I would have liked bluegrass, but I do.
It's a lot more instrumental, so
that's what I like about it. There's everybody's picking up an instrument and different people coming and jamming with other people, so that's fun. Yeah. Anyhow, that's not about mental health.
So last question, what advice would you give to anyone to encourage them to focus on their mental health, or just in mental health in general?
I would say, sorry, Rob, I would say don't be afraid to go and get help. And no one is going to judge you. And if they do, who gives a shit? Go and get help. Listen, I mean, there's nothing wrong with therapy as far as I'm concerned. If you're feeling some sort of way and you're struggling, it's okay to be able to talk to somebody else who may have some good insight for you. It's also good. A lot of times, for me, the therapist doesn't even really give you a whole lot. They just listen. And then you're answering your own questions 99% of the time. But it's good to have that person to listen to you if you're going through something. So I would say go and do it. Don't be afraid. And who gives a crap if other people make fun of you for it?
I'm going to go the opposite since you said that, and I'm going to say normalize asking and caring about what people are going through. So, take it the other way. But people, I think in general, we all need to be more proactive in terms of other people's mental health. And maybe when somebody's acting out of character or being difficult, or you're out to eat and the waitress is being difficult or rude, let's normalize saying, hey, what's going on? You good? Mm-hmm. How was your day? You seem stressed. Like, what can we do to help? But doing that in a genuine way. Because I think that we're so quick to be like, oh, you're an asshole. And you don't know what she woke up to that day or he woke up to that day, right? And I think that let's normalize really giving a shit about what people dealt with or are dealing with in their lives rather than chastising them for their bad attitude.
That's a good one.
And I think that also helps you on your mental health because,
good point.
A lot of people like, Corey had mentioned the AA and NA, meetings, like the point of going there right in the beginning as a newcomer is to hear the experience of the old timers and to take, their experience and have it benefit and help them. But what they don't really necessarily realize, the newcomers, is those old timers that are going there sharing their experience and talk, that's therapy for them. Yeah. Like that continued helping other people is helping yourself. So not being afraid to share your experience and talk about things to other people, it's a mutual win-win, give take.
For sure.
Yeah, agreed.
Lisa?
I think mine is really that it's okay to let things go. If you take Corey's point, like find a therapist, but if it's not the right therapist, find a different one. You don't have to stick with the first one you find. If you have family members who are toxic in your life, let them go. As
Agreed.
Hard as that is, like you have to let those toxic things out of your life in order to heal. So don't be afraid to let things go that you have to let go.
Agreed. 100%.
I like it.
Okay.
Should we wrap it
On
up?
that note, we're going to play the mental health version of Would You Rather. So think about how this would impact your mental health if any of these scenarios happen to you. And there's only 5, so it'll be quick.
All right.
You ready?
Do it.
Would you rather give up social media or have to eat the same dinner for the rest of your life?
Giving up social media.
Give up social media.
Yeah, I agree.
100%.
I like food way too much.
I couldn't eat the same dinner every night. There's no.
But
no
if it's my favorite dinner, I'm good. I could do it.
No. Oh no, that would kill me mentally for sure.
Day 385. We'll see if
Maybe
you say that.
Yeah, I would get old.
But I'm over social media. If it would shut down now, I would be happy. I think I honestly would be happy.
Such a necessary evil. I hate it.
That's how I feel about it. Like we have to be on it because of work, right?
Yeah.
So. Would you rather lose all the money you earned this year or all the memories you've gained this year?
Money gone.
Oh, money. It's an easy one.
Yeah, same. Would you rather go blind or go deaf?
Blind. Period. I love music way too much. I love music.
Oh man, that's tough.
I don't know.
I don't know. That's a tough one.
I
for
think
me.
I'd go the other way. I'd probably go deaf first because I just like to see things. So.
Yeah, I'd probably say deaf too. Honestly, I'd rather go deaf than
Yeah,
blind.
I'm probably with you on that one.
I don't know what it would be like being I'm like total darkness all the time. Like you take those things for granted. Take that stuff for granted. It's crazy.
Would you rather have no taste or be colorblind?
The what?
No
Blind?
taste or colorblind.
Oh, colorblind.
Oh, colorblind.
Yeah, I need the taste.
Yeah, I want to taste stuff.
Color gives meaning to everything, though, too. Like,
But if you've seen the
I
color
feel-
already,
yeah.
then you know what it is.
true.
But what if you
You're a little
haven't?
bit duller then?
I lost my taste during COVID, and that was trash.
Yeah, that was horrible. Nothing was good. Everything tasted the same, bland. Like
The only good thing is I'd lose a ton of weight.
Yeah.
He's super healthy because I wouldn't care what it tastes like anyway.
Then you're just eating to survive.
Yeah.
Maybe that would be good.
It might be good.
Yeah. I think I would lose my taste.
I'd
Okay,
probably
last
give up on
one.
the taste, too, to be honest with you. I think
Now that I've
Yeah.
rethought that, and I like the idea of just the utilitarian idea of eating, and it's not for what it's really for. So then you would just eat the
Right.
good shit because if you didn't taste it, then whatever.
because color is
Yep.
beauty,
You would-
beauty, man.
I need
Yeah.
taste. I'll get rid of the
You-
taste.
yeah. You'd be able to eat to fuel properly.
Yep.
Right. So, last one. Would you rather have a lot of mediocre friends or only one really good friend?
One really
One
good
good.
One good friend.
One really good one. Me
Don't
too.
want no mediocre. Don't want no mediocre.
Okay. So I would say if anyone out there needs help, there's plenty of resources. So reach out to, the people that you love or even the people you don't know. They'll help get you in the right place.
And if any of our people need anything, any of our agents and owners, we're always a phone call away.
Yeah, anytime
Always.
you guys want to reach out,
Even if you're not one of our agents and you're an agent somewhere else, reach out. And then we're going to recruit you.
Yep. After we help you.
Kidding.
After
Just
we
kidding.
help you.
I'm joking. I had to lighten it up a little bit. But we got you.
You've lit it up plenty.
Litten it up.
Litten it up.
Litten it up. Don't know about snod in there, Jackie. All right. Oh, God.
Sorry about that. I got a little
Just breaking
excited.
shit. All right. I think we can say bye now. Should we say bye?
Bye now.
So bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you all
Thanks,
for
everyone.
listening.
Thank you.
Like and share. See ya.
Later.